Welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series featuring master coaches from around the world. Let's journey together on this 100 Master Coaches series, with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Marilyn O'Hearne is a globally experienced master coach and known for her big picture approach, producing sustainable results. Leaders, teams, and organizations move from uncertainty to confidence with renewed vision via Marilyn's breakthrough coaching and programs. Her compassionate listening inspires truth-telling and establishes trust. Now on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series. This is Coach Mal, and today I have a special guest from Kansas City, Missouri in the USA. Her name is Marilyn O'Hearne. Can you give a big hand to her? Welcome, Marilyn, to the show.
Thank you, Mel, for inviting me. It's great to be here with you and everyone that's tuning in.
Wonderful. I've read your bio and I've seen that you've got years and years of experience in coaching, and so I'm really excited to hear your story and obviously for the audience to get ready for this whirlwind of a story of yours.
Well, I'm excited to share it with you and those who are listening. Thank you for hosting.
You're welcome. So the first question, as I normally do, is tell us, Marilyn, about your journey. How did it all begin for you?
Okay, in 1998, I was reading a systems journal because that's part of my training before coaching.
Right. Okay.
And I found this article about coaching, and it was like, wow, that sounds really interesting. And I always have been looking for kind of what's next on the horizon, and how else could I be using, my gifts and experience in training. Yes. And then it also showed up another article soon after that in our local newspaper. And it was offering a meeting. I went to the live meeting. Wow. And it was really kind of like falling in love. It was just like an instant click. Ooh. And very exciting. And what I think I especially love about coaching, and what struck me at that time, and I still love about it, is this idea that the people that we're working with, we see them as creative and resourceful and whole. And it's not like consulting where you're looking at what needs to be fixed or changed, or counseling about what needs to be healed, but how else could you help that person, that team, be even more than they are now? Just take them and partner with them to go to the next level.
So 1998, what were you doing in 1998, audience? You looked into a magazine, you went for a meeting, and it was like, as you say, love at first sight. You went in and you were like, I'm bought, I'm sold. And then what happened?
Well, I joined actually the leadership team for the initial Kansas City chapter, and I immediately started taking some training and hired my first coach, and started coaching. And so that passion and commitment has remained. I still love it. I still feel called to do this. I still see it as a good use of my gifts and experience in training.
So Marilyn, before that, if you just take one step back for all of us, so before you walked into coaching, you were...
I had a master's already in behavioral science field, and so I was doing some family systems work, and also teaching for a university. So 7 years of teaching for a university. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. And that's important for our audience to listen, because there are just so many different ways on how we all walk into coaching. And like for you, it is moving from that area of teaching into working with people, perhaps one-on-one, and bringing out the best in people. That's
Yes.
fantastic. That's fantastic. Um, how did the first couple of years look like for you?
Well, I think that was another thing that drew me to the field, is the sense of being a pioneer, because
It's,
it had started in the US, but on the coast, and it takes a while
ah,
for things to filter to the middle of the country where I live. And so I was one of the early coaches in
mm,
Kansas City.
mm,
And that was kind of a double-edged sword, this idea of being a pioneer. So it was exciting, and also because what I was one of the first coaches, then my name kind of got out quickly, and organizations started contacting me and saying, I've heard of you. Would you be interested in coming in and doing some work with our leadership team?
mm,
So that was a really good thing. In terms of the general public, talking with people, my friends, my family, about becoming a coach and starting to do coaching, they, people I didn't know would just kind of look at me like, what sport? You don't look that athletic, Marilyn. So,
that's so funny.
you're not that muscular. So what is it?
Mm, mm.
And so that, kind of early confusion, and even some of the organizations that I reached out to,
Mhm.
where I knew some of the leaders, and said, I'd love to sit down and talk with you about coaching and how that could impact your leadership team and your organization. And
Mm.
they would say, well, we already had a coach, but it didn't turn out very well, because they had been
Okay.
people without any training
Yeah.
who had picked up the buzzword of coaching and called themselves that. They added
Yeah.
it to their business card, and they weren't really doing coaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that still happens today, right? After
Unfortunately, occasionally.
20 something years, and that happens, but it's okay.
Just recent, like I have a contract within an organization
Yeah.
of the last 8 years, and I've
Mm.
noticed this year's batch of leaders had a greater understanding of coaching. And
Oh, that's so good.
when I asked them about that, they said, "Yeah, I didn't really like it at first, because the coach wasn't giving me the answer, and now I really appreciate being able to come up with my own answer." So
Mm,
yeah, it's
mm,
changed.
mm, mm. It's a brave world there. I like what you said, Marilyn. You said that you kind of love that kind of stepping into that new world, that exploration, right? So that kind of segues into the question, what
Mhm.
is that bravest thing that you felt you've done as a coach in your career?
Yeah. Okay. So as a coach, so that rules out, parenting, and that takes
That's
some
important.
bravery,
That's
right?
important as well, and that's scary a little bit.
And starting your own business. I
Ooh.
really think that um, my two trips to Asia Pacific, they were by myself,
Mm,
and the first was for a university where I would be teaching classes that I not only had not taught before, but I'd never taken as a student. So that, and just
that's so good. Mm,
going places in the world where I can't blend in. I lived in Brazil, and people, they didn't quite think I was Brazilian, but they weren't sure where I was from. They
yeah.
would guess different countries. But there was really no way to blend in physically, and then in 6 years ago, 2014, I
Mm,
went to Asia Pacific for 3 months of teaching,
wow.
speaking, and training by myself again. And it was just it really was miraculous about how the trip unfolded. I had beginning and ends, like bookends,
Yeah.
and the rest of it just filled in with invitations. So it was a beautiful experience. Stepping out of your office for 3 months and trusting, everything's going to go smoothly. It took a lot of trust. Yeah.
It certainly does. Certainly does. And I love how you have the world map right behind you to remind you of the places that you were still going to go in the new year.
I've been to a lot of places. I've been working in 40 countries now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well done. Over this past 22 years of coaching, did I get that correct?
Yes, you did.
Wow, I can count.
Yeah.
Not that bad. I actually was secretly doing the counting with my fingers. It's amazing, right? What would be 3 top insights that you like to share with us over these many years?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So I would say one is this idea of continuous learning. I think that's so important, and that's not only an insight from coaching, but it was really a family value. My dad in his 90s was still trying to teach himself German, and so it's that sense of really kind of a love of lifelong learning and development. And I've been so privileged to not only be, a mentor and a trainer in our field, but to be learning from others. So I took a course that I actually helped with in Bali, and I, studied in the UK and done Doug Silsby's presence-based coaching, immunity to change out of Harvard. So it's just been a wonderful experience learning. And then I think another is the, giving the gift of service. So my early involvement as we were forming the Kansas City chapter, and then I served on the global ICF board for 6 years.
Wow.
And following that, the Association of Coach Training Organizations board and the ICF Advanced Cultural Competency event. All of those were also, added to my learning and my connections around the world. And some of those coaches referring me work and but lifelong friends and colleagues, lifelong since then, the past 22 years. Yeah. So that's 2 of the insights. Yeah. And I think the third would be, Mel, remembering not to go it alone. That we make use of those connections that we have with other coaches, whether it's informal or hiring your own coach. And I still have my just as I do as a mentor coach, listen to other people's recordings, I still have someone review mine and get new insights, and I think that's important.
So I hear what you said. It's that journey that doesn't stop, right? Where we've reached a destination. Oh, I've reached the MCC level, and I've reached this, and I've done this in my life. But it's like a continuous flow of learning, opening up to different new things with people, and people from around the world. That's so good.
Yes, and my chapter recently awarded me the first Lifetime Achievement Award. And I said, this doesn't mean that I'm finished, Like the Academy Awards, we kind of give that to people before they die. I'm not going anywhere.
You're on the show. That's why, you see, you're here, so you're not going anywhere. That's so funny. It's like you saying, I'd like to thank the Academy. Wow.
My clients that have contributed to this, my colleagues, yes, my
Wow.
family.
So I read in your bio that you've learned from some of the best, and you mentioned some of them. You call yourself a CQ and EQ practitioner. Can you tell us just a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, I think, EQ, emotional intelligence, a lot of more people are familiar with that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
it's been part of my learning, through books and courses. And then the CQ, the cultural
Mm,
intelligence, I trained at the Intercultural Communication Institute. And then, of course, my experiences of living and working in other countries,
mm,
because I lived in Brazil for 2 years and in Spain for 5 months. And then my time in Asia Pacific
yeah.
and working with United Nations leaders in 40 plus countries. And that was
Wow.
really one of the reasons why I was invited to apply for the ICF Global Board, was
Mm,
because of my international
yeah.
experience and training.
Yeah.
And ICF was recognizing that they were calling themselves an international organization and needed to actually become more of an international organization. And they
Mm,
thought I could contribute to that as a board member.
mm,
Um, so it's been a part of the programs that I've developed, including my mentor coaching, where I've
mm,
integrated cultural competencies and coaching competencies. And I'm so excited that the ICF has recognized that in their updated competencies under the cultural mindset, understanding
yeah.
the cultural context.
So true.
And even their statement this last year, for equity,
Mm,
and because there is still so much out there to be done, um, in terms of equity and
yeah.
justice. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Totally,
Hmm.
totally agree. We call it the themes that are coming up, but I tend to in a way disagree that they're not just themes. They are bigger than that. It's part of life, isn't it?
Yes.
Inclusion is part of life.
Yeah.
Diversity is part of life. It's
Yes.
part of life ever since life began.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's been there where every one of us are created in a sense equal because we're human beings,
Yes.
and yet we have this amazing uniqueness about each
Mm.
one of us. And yeah, I think coaching kind of enhances that. It kind of
Yes.
not just enhances, but it celebrates that
Yeah.
diversity. Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautifully put. It really is. And that really, we think about that cultural continuum of
Yeah.
starting with people thinking their culture is the right approach,
Yeah.
and then moving towards understanding and leveraging and celebrating the
Mm,
differences and the uniqueness. um, yeah, that it really does fit with the coaching philosophy. And it's something for us to, it's important to understand about our clients of
yeah.
what do you know about your own culture and how people perceive you and your
Mm,
culture,
mm,
and what do you know about your client's culture and how that
yeah.
might impact your work together. Yeah.
Yeah. So true. So true. And the year is 2020, and
Mm-hmm.
we're already at the end of the year. What do you think that whole future is going to look like with coaching, Marilyn?
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
I think that what we're already seeing
yeah.
is, and I've experienced this, is we used to be able to approach organizations and contract with them individually to do team or leadership coaching.
Mm,
And now, what's been happening is a shift from that to either developing their own internal coaches and or working with one person, one coach broker for all their contracts. And so I think that's already happening. And then we're also seeing, AI starting to come up, artificial intelligence, the idea that like coaching apps and things like that.
Yeah.
And I, though, strongly believe that there will always be a need for coaching. And I think we can just look at the parallel for that of what's happened during the pandemic.
Yeah.
As we've gone to virtual, and I was fortunate enough to already be working virtually, so it wasn't a shift for me. But what I was not used to is then at the end of my day of working at home, I would want to go out and be with friends and go to the art gallery and church events, etc.
Yeah.
And those are all now virtual too, and really missing that in-person contact. And so I think we could use that metaphor for AI, that you might have some satisfaction from some AI contact, but you'll still want the personal contact. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that. After all, I think we're made for connectivity, right?
Yes.
And yes, the brand new world of connectivity is I can just look you up and follow you from afar. But then there's that whole need inside us. We need for something more. That whole face-to-face is still important. So yeah, the whole balance of that offline and online, as we say it.
Yes. Yeah. I just, like, you and I knew each other somewhat, just from coaching circles, but to have this time together is really special.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. And I guess this is when I ask you, after all those years of coaching, if you had the chance to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I would have gotten more support, more education and support with marketing and business at the beginning of my business. That wasn't part of my background. My background was behavioral sciences, and I kind of did a little stumbling, and it took me a while to really figure it out. And I think there's some stigma too, like some coaches are like, no, I don't want to have to think about marketing. But it's really just letting people know who you are and how you can serve them. And,
so true.
and if we think about it that way, I think it can make a difference. Yeah.
Definitely. So we've got two more questions, Marilyn. And the question is, your master wisdom for the young budding coaches coming in right now, what would that be?
Yeah, I really think it is to pay attention to that cultural piece. So, if we think about cultural intelligence is recognizing, our own cultural identities, and we have multiple ones, it's gender, generation, ethnicity, race, what region you live in, et cetera, and how that impacts you, and how it impacts your client, and how it impacts your work together. And the research is that leaders, what is that? I have to look at it up here. 90% of leaders from 68 countries say it's one of the most crucial components for success. So we've got ICF recognizing it, and leaders recognizing it, and I think it hasn't really been trained much so far. And it will just make a huge difference in your coaching. Those of you who are not practicing it yet.
And I notice obviously that you have written that book, Breaking Free from Bias. Tell us a little bit about that, because I kind of sense that that's related to your point before.
Yeah, it is. It's really, it's for anyone, but especially for coaches and HR professionals and organization development professionals that are working in organizations to help them become more aware of the impact of bias and culture in their organizations, and how to break through that, which reduces the amount of conflict, unnecessary conflict, and that raises the prosperity of the organizations too. So yeah, that, and I have a chapter in a just published book, The Successful Mindset, on how to develop a cultural mindset. So, and lots of free resources on my website. Yeah.
Wow, nice. Marilyn, we ask powerful questions as coaches. What would be your powerful question that you want to gift to the audience? Just perhaps anyone that just is bumping into coaching or finding coaching even right now. What would that question be?
I think I would ask, how are you contributing to unlocking all potential so everyone can live in prosperity and peace? That's my vision, and I believe we can all be part of that solution, and especially as coaches.
Wow, well done. It is everybody's responsibility in the world that we live in to be a part of that unlocking. I hear that.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is the time, Marilyn, where I invite you to share a little bit about your media handles and how we can come in contact with you.
Yeah. So Marilyn OH, MARILYNOH.com is my website. And you can sign up for my monthly newsletter there. I have a weekly blog. I have a page with podcasts and programs. So you'll find the link to this podcast on that page and other programs. And and the blog are the free resources. There's a free resource when you sign up for the newsletter. If you go to my Amazon author page, you'll find the 2 publications. I'm on Facebook. I'm active on Facebook and LinkedIn and a tiny bit on Twitter. Mondays, I try and post just a motivational post, an image quote. And Friday's a moment of nature. And then a Wednesday kind of here's what's going on in my world. And Thursday, an article of interest. Yeah. So I have a schedule.
That's something that all of us coaches need to learn too. It's putting that consistency in that sharing of our content. It's such a pleasure to have you on this show, Marilyn. Any final words that you want to say to all of us?
I want to say thank you to you, Mel, for inviting me. And
you're welcome.
That I'm still enthused about coaching and hopeful about the world and how we can each contribute. So those are my final thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And there you have it. This has been the 100 Master Coaches with me, Marilyn. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care for now, guys.
You have been watching the 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Brought to you by Catalyst Coach. www.catalystcoach.live. We will be right back with our next Master Coach on the 100 Master Coaches series.